Hey everyone, and welcome to week 3 of my June 2019 bullet journal. Kind of lost breath there. So in this week, I decided to go with a horizontal theme, and I kind of walked into this not really knowing what I wanted to do, except I wanted to make sure that I used a little bit of my paint. So I had taken strips of my watercolor paper that I made. Um, I had created a bunch extra just in case I wanted to use it for later in the month. So I took those strips and I'm putting the sticky tape on it, the dotted tape, and then I'm just laying them out so that all my pages are kind of even. The day that ends up being Friday ends up being a little bit shorter just because my calendar is in the way. And then I kind of messed up with the notes section. I wrote 24, which is actually Monday instead of notes. But it's all good. So it took a while. I had to use another sheet of paper to actually stick this paper, put the tape on there because it obviously the roll is bigger than these little strips I was making, and I didn't want to put it on my tabletop, so I just used a spare sheet of paper and used that as a buffer between my table and the marks that I was making. So I had to measure out this last strip and put the little dotted tape on there and then just put that on there. And at this point, after this point, I'm like, okay, I'm at this point. I don't know what I really want to do just next. And I do that walking into a lot of my journals. I just start because if I don't start, then I don't know. Like, I don't have a foolproof plan of exactly what I'm going to do. So I just start somewhere and then I just figure it'll come to me and I can always add more and more later if I need to. And sometimes less is more, but sometimes I like just doing something and adding, like throw some stuff on some pages and add stuff to it and see what happens. Um, that's kind of what happened with this because I actually filmed this in two sections. The first part is when I did all the painting, wrote all my numbers down, and then whenever I was coming back to it, and I kept on looking at it, I was like, there's something on here. I was like, I just don't like it. It's not popping to me. So I came back and I added a lot more lines to this spread just to make it nicer. And I think it turned out really good. It could have gone either way, I'm telling you. It could have looked real good or it could have looked a hot mess. And I'm really glad that it turned out looking really good in the end. I finished my calendar and I used my zebra midliner to highlight the weekdays, and I used my Crayola super tip. I had to really think about exactly what pen I was using. The Crayola super tip to highlight the exact week that we were in. So as you see, I just started writing and I was like, something is missing. I don't know. And I had used this in a previous week as well as in one of my collection videos that I had of just making some marks and then writing the numbers over it in black. I kind of wish I used a darker Tombow pen instead of this light one because it kind of doesn't match as much as it should. But that's why I decided to go here and make some moons and then just paint them in so that that light blue is only just, it's like a background wash. So I draw in all of these little moons with this stencil because I don't have the steadiest hand, as I said before. Not ashamed of it. It's okay. And so I draw these moons and then I'm like, okay, what am I going to do next? So once I do this, I grab my paint pen and I'm about to color it in and then I'm like, no, let me use my actual paint. So my gold paint. So I I think I use two different golds, or maybe I do this one and I do two layers because I realized in last week's spread, whenever I did the painting of the moon and I used two different ones, it worked out fine. It just needed a second coat. And it takes a good long while for me to get this painting done. So I'll end up cutting a lot of it out. But as you can see, I'm just taking my brush and I lightly wet the brush and I put it on the paint palette just to gather a lot of the pigment, mixing it around to make that pigment really like pop out. And then I just painted it. And then this is me doing the second coat. Like I said, I just skipped through it because it's a lot. I got a little overzealous and I didn't wait for it to dry all the way. So a couple of my letters are messed up, but that's okay. I think it's my 21 that I mess up. So I just use my black pen and I write it in and I keep it this small font. I could have made it bigger, but just writing on top of this paint, like there's a lot going on in this one section. There's the Tombow brush pen that I use, and then there's the gold paint, and then I'm writing on top of it. So that's a lot. So I had to double check and make sure that it didn't actually bleed through the page. So this is me coming back to it. This is the second portion of this video. I had left it like that, and as you can see, I didn't like it too much. It looked like it was missing something, a lot of somethings. Missing a lot of something. So then I just go in and I was like, well, I'll just make boxes, even though the blue lines are header boxes. I just, go in and add a couple of more boxes. And then I'll make it look like paper. So I'll add a small little line, and then I'll add a bunch of horizontal lines in there. So it looks like this is like a notebook page ripped out and laid out on this paper. Out of this month spread, I thought last week's spread was going to be my absolute favorite, but I really didn't end up using it as much because I wasn't very motivated. This week's spread, I'll fill it all the way up. It's really good. I'm super busy this week. So, yeah. And I make all these little rounded curves to kind of go with like the moon is rounded and so this paper is going to be rounded. Real simple, real quick, just a good touch, an idea for you to maybe use on one of your spreads. I definitely recommend that if you use that Tombow pen to make that background, you make it match your theme a little bit closer than what I did. So that's pretty much it for this. Please let me know what you think in the comments below. Like and subscribe if you enjoyed what you watched here. And as always, thanks for watching.